Good morning or afternoon, everyone. My name is Mariela Salinas, and I'm a marketing specialist here at Educate 360. Welcome to today's webinar, Agile Business Analysis, presented by our Director of Projects here at Educate 360, Andrea Brockmeyer. We are in Zoom for today's session, and we will be sharing a copy of this recording with you in an email after the webinar. We do encourage participation throughout the webinar, so please use that chat or the Q&A option for our short Q&A after the presentation. Educate 360 is so excited to present this webinar today. So without further ado, I will hand it over to you, Andrea.
All right. Thank you so much, Mariela, and greetings, everybody. Welcome, and from wherever you are. It's terrific to be here with you today. So, Agile Business Analysis. So, our BAs in this presentation are all wearing sunglasses because the future is bright for Agile BAs. And so that is premise number one that I'm going to be working from here today. So, in our time together, I want to talk a little bit about how business analysis is used in where BAs might fit, and what does business analysis contribute specifically in an agile environment, of course. So not necessarily in that order, but that's kind of what I want to talk about. And so I want to get started with just a quick poll question here, of course. So which of these are things that impact your organization right now? Or think of them, which of these are priorities for your organization? In terms of maybe how they set strategy, how they communicate internally, how work gets done. And you can pick as many as you want.
All right, I'm going to give us about 20 more seconds, but we got a good amount of votes coming in.
Yeah.
Awesome to see. Excellent, excellent. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll right here. Let's see what those results look like.
Awesome. Great. Okay, so lots on all of them, which I'm of course not terribly surprised. It's funny, simplifying decision making. That one is the lowest and sometimes the most painful. But the reason I'm asking this is because I think that this is evidence of what I have been saying for some time, and that is that I think all of us are on an agile journey of some kind. I think whether you have officially inaugurated an agile transformation or you've got coaches coming in, I think that every organization, just given the nature of our world today, is on some kind of an agile journey. That is having to think about how to inject agility into how we get things done in our organizations. And so what I'm talking about today is applicable, in my mind, to BAs anywhere. So whatever kind of environment you're working in, just take note. And I also feel strongly that pretty much everybody does BA. So I think these are things that everybody can take away. So that's sort of premise number one for today. But let's take a look at where we've come from. So once upon a time in an organization long ago, we had businesses and teams that were separated, and you had the business analyst who was the facilitator, right? They would courier sort of back and forth. You had the business people who were upstairs somewhere making decisions and had all the requirements. You had the team downstairs somewhere that was building what it was that the business needed and wanted, and the BA was having to figure out what that was and sort of courier everything back and forth. And it wasn't exclusively requirements work, but it was a lot of requirements work. And that's kind of how things work. Well, along comes Agile. And what do we have happening? We have organizations flattening. We have the more emphasis on empowering teams, self-organizing teams, whether we call them that or not. All of those things that we just looked at in that poll, things that, made our environments hopefully more adaptive, more responsive. One of the things we talked about early in the Agile days was, everybody being co-located, which of course we figured out how not to have that be a requirement anymore. But the idea that everybody was together. And so the other thing was that when we brought in Agile, and most of us, and I'm going to use Scrum as a reference in my talk today because over 80% of people who are doing Agile are using Scrum or Scrum and something else, according to most of the surveys. We had specific roles in those environments, right? We had a product owner and a team and a Scrum Master or some kind of a coach, which left people like BAs thinking, I don't see the BA anywhere on that list. I don't, where do I fit in? And I will tell you that as a business analyst, your value proposition is pretty hard to beat right now in organizations in terms of helping organizations navigate uncertainty and sustain the value that you bring to your customers. So a couple of ways that you can do that, if you look at the roles that we see in Agile environments. So one is as a coach or a Scrum Master, if you're using Scrum. Absolutely an appropriate place for a BA to fit in, removing roadblocks, being that servant leader to the team, being that mentor to the team. Also, though, that Agile advocate. So I think a lot of times the Scrum Master role is kind of misunderstood. Really, they are super Scrum savvy, right? They're helping the organization understand what it's about, why they're doing it, making sure that the team is practicing good Scrum, those kinds of things. But this is certainly, this is something that some BAs maybe find is a really great place for them to be. And that's certainly, there's not a right or wrong answer to that. The other role is, of course, as the product owner. So this, in my mind, leverages more of what BAs are sort of raised to know how to do, right? The things like managing the backlog, all of the refinement of the backlog, prioritizing the backlog, reviewing the product at the end of sprints, providing feedback, making sure that shared vision is understood by everybody and in fact shared. The one part where there is a little bit of a, is that really what a BA does, is the business decisions, right? BAs are not typically seen as making the decisions. They're there to facilitate decision-making among various stakeholders. But holistically, really on the big, thinking broadly, this really leverages a lot of the BA skills in an Agile environment. Now, one thing to consider if you think about a PO in an Agile environment being filled by a BA is what makes for a good PO. And you may have heard of a AAA rating for a PO: authority, ability, or knowledge of the business, and availability. Okay, so a product owner typically has the authority and the ability, right? If you ask people, okay, what is their biggest challenge with product owners in your environment? Well, it's not around the authority. They have the authority to make decisions on behalf of the customer, the business, right? You've got a single voice. They are the voice of the customer. They've got the authority to do that. They have the knowledge of the business. What they don't have often is availability. That's typically the biggest challenge with a product owner. And so enter the BA. A lot of times this is where the business analyst sees themselves and really works beautifully. They've got certainly the knowledge of the business just by virtue of what they do, and they have availability. What they often don't have is the authority. They don't, and furthermore, they're not, again, seeing themselves typically as a decision maker. They're not the voice of the customer. They're to make sure that the customer voices are heard, right? And Agile is very different in terms of having that single voice of the customer. So that's a challenge in that the BA has, the ability and the availability, but typically not the authority. What can we do about that? Well, a lot of times you'll have the BA as a proxy product owner, or they're working together with the PO. So they're making sure that the work is getting done, the BA work is getting done, and the PO's work is getting done. When there are decisions to be made, then they get those from the decision maker, or however they make that work. Because this potential conflict of interest, if I'm a neutral facilitator, as a BA, it's my job traditionally to be a trusted advisor, right? I'm there to provide information, help draw out what it is that people need, not just what they want, give the decision makers what they need in order to make good decisions, not necessarily to make the decisions themselves. That's traditionally the BA's role. If suddenly we're going to make them the decision maker, again, there's a disconnect there. So if we're going to work together with a product owner, which can work great, we just need to make sure that the decision making is how that's going to work is clarified for everybody so that everybody understands that. But this is a fantastic option for BAs fitting in an agile environment. Okay, well, if that's the case, then where are all these BA skills being used in an agile environment? How about everywhere? They are everywhere. Let's look at things like all the stuff that happens before we get started with the iterations or the sprints, right? I think a lot of times when people think of agile, they have a hard time kind of understanding, okay, so we start these iterations, 2, 3 weeks, whatever. Okay, how do we know what we're doing? Well, there are things that get done in an agile environment. There is a larger context that stuff, the development happens in, right? Visioning, identifying the business need, developing a business case. Business cases don't go away just because you're working in an agile environment. So this is typically, PO work that's doing that. It's also BA work. This is, basic BA work. Hello business requirements, right? You can do modeling as part of that, eliciting, drawing out from the people, the decision makers is a huge part of that. Prioritizing, what are the various ways we can meet the business need? That's all business analysis work. What's the development team doing when they're planning their sprints or their iterations? What are they doing every day throughout the sprint? Estimating, modeling, writing user stories, acceptance criteria, looking at the results of testing, prioritizing, whether they're doing that, the PO's doing that, they're doing that together. All of that is working with essentially requirements, understanding, getting clarification about what the solution needs to be, right? Remember, we think about a project owner as project focused, the business analyst is product or solution focused. That is exactly what an agile environment is. Look what happens in the sprint review, the sprint retrospective, facilitating, listening, consensus building. I mean, this is built into the BA DNA, those kinds of skills. Those are the things that are happening there. So where is BA happening? Everywhere throughout an agile environment. In fact, it cracks me up when people will say, oh, we're going to agile, so we're not going to use BAs anymore. It's like, are you serious? Or environments that are going to go agile, so they have one BA on a team, or they've got, even worse, a single BA that's shared amongst all the different teams. Why don't we treat business analysis like we do other agile team skills? Right? Ideally, your agile teams are what we think of as T-focused, right? They can do multiple things. They might be deep in one particular skill set. Of those things that everybody has some skills in, why don't we add business analysis to that? Why try to share a single BA across multiple teams? Because you can't tell me other team members aren't doing elicitation. You can't tell me that, other team members couldn't benefit from some modeling skills, or some of these other things that are going on here, right? So I'd suggest we treat BA like we do all the other team skills to, so that everybody can do these things to some extent to mitigate bottlenecks, to make sure things don't get stuck, to maintain that flow, right? So business analysis thinking then, what are some of the other things that business analysis contributes? Well, big picture thinking. If BAs are, when you work with a business analyst, they are big picture thinkers. They are thinking holistically. The thing is, when we think about big picture thinking, a lot of times we think about big picture as it relates to our organization. If I said, what is the context within which you work? I think a lot of us would think in terms of the people in our organization, our teams, maybe our infrastructure, our processes, certainly. But we need to think, it's like I think of it as a snow globe. I don't know what that occurred to me one time, thinking about, that's our sort of big picture, is everything in the snow globe. But we really need to think of the big picture from the outside, what's been referred to as, outside in thinking. And not just what's in our organization, but the things that impact that, the larger context, the even larger context, the economy, the political environment, competitors, regulations, talent, how easy, how accessible and easy is it to get good talent, the mobility of people, global health, all of these things, technology, certainly, because that is what our customers see. They don't see our organization from the inside. They see our organization from the outside, and they too are impacted by those things. So business analysts are great at seeing that larger context. And part of that larger context also includes systems thinking, understanding the impacts of one thing and how it impacts others. Right? BAs are, again, they grow up thinking about, if you make a change in technology, what impact does that have to process? Or if I make a change to a process here, what is the impact downstream? That's just how they think. And that's certainly part of what needs to be brought into an agile environment. Big picture thinking also generates innovation. Creativity and utility is innovation. So BAs have to be creative. They're creative in how they help stakeholders understand how to meet a business need, even if it might be a little different than what they think they want. They help teams understand how to build things if the team has different understandings of how that need might be met. BAs have a very creative mindset and toolkit. So, when you think about digital transformations these days, it's not just, that's not just about how customers are going to access what we offer, but it's about that customer experience. How are we going to continue to deliver that and turn their ideas into something that we can deliver? That inherently is creative and innovative. So some of the tools that we can use for big picture thinking, things like product roadmaps, that big picture thinking can lend itself to, at the team level too, like, big product roadmaps, getting a shared understanding about what that product looks like over the course of its life. Where are we going with this product? Not like a project plan, but just helping people see the big picture, set, have some understanding of when the stakeholders, when the customer can expect the value that they're looking for. Or story mapping, adding another dimension to that flat backlog, not just what's going to be delivered in the priority, but getting some coherence to the delivery of what of that solution, those increments, right? Does it make sense to deliver these things so that there's actual utility that can be obtained in what it is that we're leasing in those increments? Impact maps. Certainly, again, the why. Let's not lose sight of the why. What is the value proposition that we offer? Why are we doing this? What is the business need that's being met? And making sure that as we get distracted with delivering the solution and those deliverables, that we don't get ourselves untethered from that. So tools like this just fold so neatly into the BA's toolkit. Really a great way for them to help make sure that we are not losing sight of the whole impetus and the value proposition of what we're doing and still staying customer focused. And just like business cases, standard BA work does not go away in an agile environment. In agile environments, it's not like we can say business rules, basha, we don't need to worry about those anymore. Non-functional requirements, whatever. Those things still are critical. So who better than a BA to make sure that those business rules are reflected in those increments, are reflected somewhere in those user stories, whether it's acceptance criteria or whatever. Making sure that those business rules are supported in what is being delivered. Making sure that those non-functional requirements stay in sight and that those are incorporated into that solution that we're delivering incrementally. Again, nuts and bolts BA work. And big picture thinking is also, working up and down and across the organization. BAs are always doing that. That's exactly what they do. So while the BA may not have the authority to fill a PO role necessarily, it's certainly not that they're not comfortable working up and down and across the organization. So the Agile BA is a big picture thinker. That is for sure. All right, and then customer centricity. So that's another mindset piece, really the bedrock of surviving in this digital age with the tempo of change and technology and customer preferences. You lose sight of your customer at your peril. That is for sure. And who is the customer? Well, again, a lot of us think, if we've got that snow globe thinking there, we think about our customers as our internal customer. And we have internal customers, no doubt about it. And I'm not suggesting we ignore them. But somewhere there is an external customer. And BAs need to think about getting that door on that snow globe so we can get out and see who those external customers are. What do they care about? So we may be building, for example, let's say we're building an app to enhance productivity or efficiencies or satisfaction for our internal customers. But to what end? Right? We're not self-generating revenue where somebody somewhere is buying something, our services, our products, whatever. Those are the people we have to think about, because if they change their mind, that renders our super-de-duper process moot, right? And what do those customers care about? Our project, our business, how efficient our processes are, how elegant our internal system interfaces look, how well our organizations operate, or how engaged our employees are? Not so much. What they care about is that they get what they want when they want it. It's all about them, right? And so BAs are perfectly positioned to help maintain that focus. It's part of that really built into that big picture thinking of that customer that we always need to have in our mind's eye. How do we do that? Again, tools that are already in the BA toolkit, things like storytelling. This is how BAs elicit, telling stories. In an agile environment, even think about how we often describe user stories, the 3 C's of user stories: card, conversation, confirmation, right? That conversation piece. That's what BAs do. They talk to people. That's part of that partnering to draw out that hard work of elicitation. Is a lot of taking a deep breath and sitting around and telling stories, helping people understand and see themselves in the new future state. What does that need to look like? Or think about even personas, things that we can create for fun to promote empathy or to promote an understanding rather than trying to talk about a user, which is pretty amorphous and kind of hard to relate to, right? Or even those, lightweight personas empathy maps, something that's really easy to do. This is a great BA tool. User experience people use these. But really, in a lot of ways, it's a BA tool to help understand how customers think and feel, what they do, help us relate to them so that we can better meet their needs. So that Agile BA is ultra customer centric as well. So how is BA used? It's used from strategizing and visioning down to detailed requirements. It's used horizontally and vertically in the organization. It is everywhere. Business analysis is a team sport. And again, I would suggest whatever kind of environment you're in, but certainly in a customer-centric, product solution-focused environment. Hashtag you do BA. I don't think there's anybody that can say they don't do some of what BAs do. And it's, the skills, the tools, and the mindset. Big picture thinking and customer centricity, that total commitment to keeping the customer at the center of every conversation and decision. And not just the internal customer, but that external customer. These are facets of the Agile BA value proposition. And so, as I say, that future is bright for Agile BAs, folks. Get your shades on. So we would love to help you in your Agile and/or Agile BA journey. So here are just some of the classes coming up. The Agile BA class is a great class. If you're sure, you're thinking, I don't know, we don't work too much in Agile, there's still really great stuff there that you can use. If you're trying to be more team-centric and be more engaging with the tools you use, some really great stuff in there. Eliciting requirements, an awesome day. Everybody elicits. Everybody elicits. What is elicitation? It's not gathering, it's not collecting, I'll tell you that. And then is there a great, I just wanted to add the ECBA certification from IIBA, a really great entry-level certificate. There's no qualifications to take the exam, and it really gives you a good solid foundation in business analysis per the IIBA framework, which is all good stuff. So I always like to recommend that. Really great start. And BA Foundations, check it out. Really great place to start. And again, I don't see a hard and fast line between Agile and business analysis. So all of these are great examples. We've got other stuff on our website too. So yeah, so that's what I've got. Thank you so much for joining. Any questions? I've got a couple minutes here, so yay that.
Absolutely. I will give our audience a quick minute to throw in any questions if they have any, but before I get into that, I just wanted to let our audience know that they can definitely be getting a copy of this recording in an email after the webinar, just in case they missed out on any part of the session. And if they needed any more info on any of these amazing classes that are on the screen, they can visit us at watermarklearning.com. Awesome. Well, I think that we had a lot of great info. So I want to say we should be getting out of here a little early, about 2 minutes early, everyone.
Okay. There was
So,
one question here.
oh,
You
awesome.
say product review. Do you mean the BA completes some sort of testing of the product? I mean, as a member of the team, they certainly can. Testing is not the business analysis work per se, but on a good Agile team, you've got cross-functional team members, so they could certainly do that. Product review, though, being at the end of the sprint or the iteration, they look at what's been created and giving the thumbs up, yep, we're good for that, or no, we want changes to it. Yeah. Yeah. Our website, watermarklearning.com. Yeah, I'll put that in there. Yeah, check it out. Have a great rest of your week, folks.
Fantastic. All righty. Well, thanks, Andrea, again for your fantastic time. And thank you all so much for joining us today. Hope you have a fantastic week, and we will see you very soon.
Thanks,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.